Hey Tubes, well this installment has to do with the Lee Safety Primer Feed. Now I picked up one of these fine units at Cabela's recently, and I want to comment on Lee's customer service because I received this Safety Primer Feed from Cabela's, and I think it might have been their fault. It was a scratch and dent item, and I didn't receive the proper adapter to mount it to a classic turret press. Only the adapter to mount it to a regular single stage press. And anyway, I called Lee, and their customer service woman was very pleasant to deal with, very friendly, and said, "Oh yeah, we'll send you the piece you need. Give us your address. No charge for shipping and handling. No questions asked." She said, "We'll send it out to you." And I want to show you guys, how to install it. But I just wanted to say that I'm very pleased with Lee, and I've never had any problem with any of their products. And this problem that was probably out of their hands was something that they put to rest without any hassle. So let's get started with installing this thing. I'll show you guys how to set it up. Got some 308 cast bullets there with some gas checks. We're going to be loading those. Keep an eye out for a segment dedicated to those. And on this press, you're going to need a 1/2 inch hex wrench. Now you can use an adjustable wrench. I like to call those King China. You're the big adjustables. You can use one of those. Or, if you've got a socket set, I prefer to use an actual socket for this job. But anyway, let's get started. I'll show you guys how to take that off. Now, I like to use socket extensions sometimes, even though, in this case I obviously don't need one. But what that'll do is it'll let me use it kind of like a screwdriver handle to freewheel this fastener a little bit. Get the handle out of the way here. I'm going to crack this sucker loose. And you see now I can use that like a screwdriver. Just kind of a mechanic's tip. That's my preference. As you'll notice, we have this fine hex bolt with a plate on top of it. You're going to keep that on the bolt. And we've got a spacer here. This is going to remain on the press. So simple enough. Set it up so you get your little disc right on top of here. It's basically a very thick washer. And then set it up so that you've got your plate on top like this with the bolt going through. The little flexi tab facing downward. Set the bolt back in. Use the extension to wind this thing just snug. We're going to make a final calibration adjustment. We're going to now set our safety prime in. And if you bought two of these, pick the one that's for the proper caliber. Although the alignment, when you align one, they should both be aligned properly. You just set that in there. And what we're looking for, I'll try and get a shot of this. We're looking for a good interface between the priming cup, I'm going to call it, in the top of the ram. Got this priming cup here. This is going to swing over it just right and pop a primer. It's going to slide and pop a primer into it. Now if that's not lined up right, it's not going to work right. So what you want to do is jerk around with this thing until you find the place where it is not fetching up in order to do this motion. This is with your ram all the way up, by the way. Now if you find the device too wiggly, make it a little snug, but don't overstress this when you're aligning it because it's delicate. It's not designed for a lot of stress. What you want to do is line this up rotationally so that the safety prime device is in perfect alignment with the priming arm here for the priming cup. So when that rests, these things should be lined up so that this will slide over that priming cup smoothly without fetching up. See, just like that. Boom, prime, prime. And then just tighten down that bolt. Support the plastic arm gently as you torque this bolt down, and do it gradually. Now let's talk about the press handle. You're going to come up, mine is calibrated in such a way that it might actually interfere with this safety prime. I'm actually going to loosen. If you set up your press, you know how to do this already. I'm going to loosen up my fastener on the end here and change the positioning of this handle so it doesn't interfere so much. So I'm just going to loosen up on this fastener a little bit. We'll try it set like that and see what happens. Tighten that down. And you don't have to really go to town on these fasteners. Just make sure they're really snug, but you just don't want to honk it too much. We'll try the handle like that, see how it works. I hope this was helpful. I'll show you guys how to fill it up real quick. I don't think it's possible for it to be any easier to fill up the safety prime. You simply remove it from the press. Press down on this catch a little. Turn your lid. Gently pop it off here. This rough surface here, I usually refer to it as a collator. I think that's the right term. It's got little bumps. Now what you want to do, this is nice, you don't have to handle your primers. The whole reason you're using this is to avoid having to handle the primers and contaminate them. But I'm simply going to dump some primers in here and show you how it works. What this collator does is when you shake it, it's going to fetch up these primers and set them all so they're in the same direction. Now, once you're certain that all the primers are anvil side up, just simply put your lid back on. Again, if you don't crunch this stuff hard, it'll last a long time. It's only when you get impatient that you run into trouble. So press it down firmly, rotate it. That catch has now clicked in, and you'll see they're running down this little urethra right here. Once you wiggle it around a little bit, you'll have this entire chute basically full of primers all the way up to your device here. And at that point, you'd put it back on the press. I'm just going to prime a couple of shells to show you how easy this system is. By the way, whenever you're frigging around with primers, it's recommended to wear safety glasses. You're all the way up in your decapping sizing die. You simply push your safety prime all the way forward, push all the way back, and you'll see this edge will go down. You just primed. Now, all the way down, seat the primer, and on to your next step. And you've got a nice, sexy looking primed round there. So then, do a couple more here. Resize, decap, boop, prime, prime, done. Resize, boop, prime, done. Done. Simple as that. Big agitator. This safety prime wasn't swinging back out of the way, so in other words, you'd push it forward and it would just stay there. All I did was, all you have to do is retrain this little finger here. Bend it up. You take this prime system out here. I'll show you. Take your safety prime out. Take this finger and bend it up. And just hold it. Don't bend it too far. Just hold it like that for a while. And you'll train it. And then you shouldn't have a problem. Every time I prime, it springs back. Prime, springs back. No problem. Simple as that. My input about this press, my opinion, is running this safety prime mechanism is very efficient. You combine that with the Pro Auto Disc powder measure, which basically fits into your powder through expander die. basically every time you expand the case, you drive it up into this die, and as that's going on, it's dispensing a pre-measured amount of powder into the case, and you can move on. That combined with the safety prime is really, I think it makes this press pretty lethal. If you want to run those progressive presses, I think those are terrific. For me, this is enough. And I'm not saying it's as fast, but I would say for me, for what I need, it's better. And I would emphasize that, keep in mind, if you're going to be dispensing charges over, I think it's about 20 grains of powder, for heavy calibers, you're going to need an upgrade kit for the Pro Auto Disc powder measure, which allows it to dispense more powder. The other thing you're going to need is a riser, which raises the dispenser up to keep it out of the way of the safety prime. You can see how close my funnel gets. You can see how close that gets to the safety prime. Now, that's not a big deal, but if you had that auto disc, it would hit it if you didn't have the extra riser. And Lee sells that part. It's not a big deal. I will buy one of those powder measures. I just can't afford it right now. But I hope this information of setting up the safety prime is helpful to you guys. And, you can look forward to some more reloading videos in the future. I got 100 tumble lubed 44 mags here, 310 grain bullets, and I bought a bunch of bullets I'm going to do a review on. These are 250 grain, and they were very, very inexpensive, and I'm very pleased with them so far. Stay tuned for a review on those. Thanks a lot, guys.